People, Deluded, I'm back again. Good morning, and I hope you're all doing well and safe, people. Now, earlier on today, yes, how you know it's early, I said the wrong word. Later on today, Arsenal will be playing in the Europa League, our second game in Europe's competition this year, at home to Dundalk. After that, we've got United. That game's to come in a couple of hours. But obviously, Mikel Arteta's had his press conference, and I feel there's some things that have provided talking points for me, to be honest, and you guys, because we know there's a lot to be said about Aubameyang through the middle, Saliba, Reiss Nelson, just how we're playing at the moment. And while I haven't got everything I'm here to talk about, in a sense of I don't want to bore you not talking about everything, he provided a little bits and clues and bits and pieces. Now, in relation to Aubameyang, people, and it's the one of most concern to me, people, because as we know, to be honest, I don't care if Aubameyang plays out wide or through the middle. For me, every day of the week, I play him through the middle. I think that's where he's strongest. For the team I would like to see, I believe, you need fast. Something's in my eye, people. Apologies. Sorry, people. Something just flew in my eye. I apologise for that, people. But as I was saying, for me, Aubameyang, every day of the week, you're playing through the middle. You have a fast winger on either side. You've got Aubameyang. You've got interchanging movement. Like, I don't want Aubameyang necessarily to stay out there. I want him to drift out wide because the best strikers, they move about, sort of thing. But primarily, you play in central position. You score a lot of goals. Now, I know Aubameyang bags out wide. And for me, I think you've got to use that. Out of a 38-game period, let's say 30 plus games, I'm trying to use him through the middle, but there might be an occasion where there's rotation or whatever, where Laka might come into the team, or Eddie, or ideally another number 9 that has similar pedigree, and then Aubameyang out wide, because I can see why, especially in big games when you've got attacking fullbacks, why Aubameyang out wide is a thing. And to be fair, he's shown he can bag out there already, people. It's only a thing when you can, me and you who want him to play through the middle, we can talk as much as we like, but it's only got a bit of heat because he's not scoring goals right now. I know there's lots to be said about expected goals and is it sustainable, but yeah, and you can't rule out if Aubameyang likes to actually play out wide and exploit those areas. Personally, I think he likes to play through the middle. I wouldn't have a problem in playing on the left, but I don't think we consistently try to find him. In isolation, when you look at the FA Cup run in particular, that's great. But more often than not, we're not trying to find Aubameyang. He finds himself isolated, double up against by the opposition, and it's difficult, when the team's not playing to your strengths or any of the attacker's strengths or showing anything on the field to show that we're working on patterns of play. While I think the players need to pull their fingers out and individually ask why they're not in form and playing well, I think it's a case for the management. I love Arteta, I want him to do well, but I think the attacking issues is down to him. Because defensively, I think it was the players, and it has been the players. You've seen the system, and they've shown that they can't concentrate for large periods when he first came in. And you could say, okay, once he gets a Gabriel or trains up the people here already, it's cool. I can't really see that in an attacking sense. Saka's the only one excelling, really. Willian's not done nothing. Aubameyang's not done nothing. Lacazette, fair play, he's got 3 goals. He should have had a 4th because VAR shagged him. But he's not doing nothing. We're not creating. We're not doing anything. So I think the attacking thing is purely on Arteta. That's actually the thing I'm most harsh about in relation to Arteta. I have sympathy for a lot of things. Patterns of play is not one of them, because he set himself up in that regards. With obviously not bringing in a creative man or an 8 that can create, not trying to fix this in-house, just talking really. And he spoke a lot about wanting to play that football, and I've seen 18, 19 pass moves, so we should be able to do that, but it's not happening. But for what it's worth, on the lack of goals, he said, well, from everybody, because when we are at home and we're not able to score, I am concerned. I am concerned about the second half. He's speaking about the game against Leicester. We should have done better. We only had the chance for Hector. And what does that tell you? That chance for Bellerin, which, like I've said in the review, was the best chance of the game. Who crossed it? Aubameyang. Like I said, if I'm Johnny Evans and these sort of players there, I'm laughing when I can... For the fact of me as a centre-half, if I can see Aubameyang, I'm laughing because, the best strikers, Aubameyang's one of them strikers like Aguero. Yeah, Aguero plays a bit more centrally, but you take your eyes off them on the lot and they're on your shoulder. They're gone. They're racing through. If I can see Aubameyang, much less he's crossing out wide, and we're playing with a back 5 and 11 men behind the ball, I'm laughing if I'm Kasper Schmeichel. I'm laughing if I'm Johnny Evans, because there's nothing you have have to do in that regards, really and truly. And that's a problem, you know. The players have to pull it up and say, okay, why are we not playing 1-2 touch? Because in the second half against Sheffield United, I saw that. But there's a theme here. We're not shooting enough in many games. There's many different statistics we can pull apart people and whatnot and manipulate. To only have that chance, the players need to pull it out. But that's a byproduct of whatever you're working on the training ground, you know. I'm sure Leicester will be laughing. Bellerin had the best chance, and you know Bellerin's a bit booky in that regards. I mean, he said, but it's still something we have to improve. Sorry, he said, they didn't have anything, to be fair, until after the 70th or 80 minutes. And that doesn't matter, Arteta. Yeah, that's true. But, you know, come the 80, come whatever minute, they scored. You know, teams are going to be out of it for 80 minutes and then score. That doesn't matter. We don't win brownie points for more possession, for having more of the play, for being the more dominant team, if people say we was. You know, all that matters is the 3 points. And it is a bit frustrating because this is the sort of stuff I used to hear Wenger and Emre say. And it's getting quite jarring, really and truly. And like he said, we have to improve in the final third. The solutions we have to give them to attack better, to be more continuous, to be able to sustain attacks in longer periods and put the ball in the box more. We've been working on that, so hopefully we can improve that. And to be fair, Arteta, again, I'm not expecting us to play like Bayern Munich or a prime Barcelona, but the building blocks should have been put into place earlier. There should be a bit more progress, because the minute you came in, we saw progress into the defensive. We all conceded, all right, cool, defence is the priority. We know we're going to be dog poo in an attacking sense, and I think you've had enough time not to finish it now. But you know, you've come in last season, you've had the FA Cup, it's been a disruptive pre-season, but you've had enough time to actually put some building blocks for attacking play, bits of play, because we knew defending and how we attack are central. You know, I'm not seeing my team shoot enough. I'm not seeing enough clear-cut chances. I'm not seeing enough players have the onus. Like, I'm not just looking at my creative of the midfielders that are underperforming. You know, we've got to look like we can score a goal from everywhere around the field. And it only looks like a certain couple of players carry that threat, you know. So like I said, I'm the most harshest on Arteta with that in that regards, people. If I just scroll down, where is it? Yeah, and continue on the Aubameyang front, people. He said, from our side, we have to give him more opportunities, more shots, put him in better positions. We must try to accumulate more players around him to create better situations for him, and he has the right to step in as well. When that happens, he has the right opportunity. And then when further pressed about playing him central, he said, yes, that's a very possible thing. It will depend on the games. It will depend on who he's surrounded with. I think it's very important to see who's around him and why we're doing it. And we can all see prior to the game or during the game what sort of angle you've come with. It just ain't worked. Like, Aubameyang right wing is clearly the most ineffective he is out of all the front three positions. He's a bad boy through the middle. We'll concede on the left, you know, and I get that. But we're having a tough time understanding. Like I said, for me, 20-30 of the games in the league, Aubameyang plays through the middle. But I understand if you go with two strikers, if you go with one out wide, if you drop one out, because that's what the game demands. We've got Manchester United on the weekend, you know. If he said, all right, cool, we're going with Aubameyang through the middle, let's go and ask questions of the gaps in behind Luke Shaw, Wan-Bissaka, and Harry Maguire's, you know, disastrous season. I get it. But if he said, all right, cool, I'm going to play a target man against United because Maguire's going to, you know, Lacazette's more of a physical threat to Maguire. And Aubameyang, you're going to go out wide, try to capitalise on mistakes. I'll say, all right, cool, I get that. But, you know, I'm having a tough time understanding it with Aubameyang because, again, I'm not saying he's declining as a footballer, but he is going to start declining and have to start to change the way he plays. It happens to everyone. So with that instead, can we move him central? Can we make things easier for him? Yes, he looks after himself. Yes, you know, in real time, he's probably got like 2 extra years in his professional career, but you know, I'm not talking about his pace. He's gonna have to change his game. His body is changing. Things he done differently, he done one way, might have to do differently. And at the same time, you know, we've tied him down for his prime years. Why are we messing about? Why are we not building a team, not necessarily around him, but giving him the capabilities to do what he needs to do? You know, at least until we get some confidence, play the man through the middle. Everything Arteta has said there about more players around him, this, that, and the other. The players have to work it out. But all that's going through my head is manager. This is for you because, again, I like that you're adaptable, but you've chopped and changed too much. And I love Arteta, but you've chopped and changed. 1 minute, you know, Williams playing on the right, then he's through the middle. You know, Aubameyang's played in all front three positions so far this season. You know, Eddie's playing up front, then he's a left winger. I get why you do this. I don't necessarily mind it. I just feel where we are as a club and the level of players, we can't do that. Because if you did that Willian stuff with a Sterling or, you know, these sort of things, I could get it. But we ain't got the squad where you can, you know, chop and change, and man are playing right wing one day, then they're through the middle, or they're doing a different midfield. Well, I don't think our players have that intelligence yet, or that consistency to be able to do such. And everything he said there is what he said. Surround him with players then. If you want, you know, first and foremost, when I think of Aubameyang, people have to hit him. You know, people have got to want to play. He's got better link-up play and build and able to build better up front than people give him credit for. But players have got to want to play with any striker. Because there's been times Lacazette's been isolated. There's been times the creative midfielder in our team, who we put all our hopes to change everything, has been isolated. You know, our first line of attack is our goalie in Lennon. Our first line of defence is Aubameyang, whoever's through the middle. Until we start to look like a well-engined unit in that regards, I'm not too sure. And to be fair, Arteta was showing me last season that he's doing that. This season, I still retain faith, but I just think he's regressed right now in terms of how he's attacking. Because I've seen I haven't seen anything. I think he's playing with too much of a handbrake. So we'll have to see what happens, man. We really have to see what happens in that regards, man. He was then asked, and then a next one that was of confidence to me. I mean, not confidence. Gives confidence to Reiss Nelson, but it's of interest. He spoke about Reiss Nelson, and he said whether he'd hoped to give Reiss Nelson game time. He said, "Well, we ended the window with a large squad, and we had a few plans in mind for Reiss, and one of them was to send him on loan to get more minutes because of the competition that we have up front." And that tells me that, you know, you might believe in him. You started him in big games last season, but you're not counting on him in this season. You've brought in Willian. I think Willian is going to be at the detriment of a lot of footballers, because I think Willian's going to be a favourite. You know, he's one of them man always in the squad. But you've got Willian. You still have to persist with Pepe regardless. You know, you've got Aubameyang that's playing out wide. You've got Martinelli. Bukayo Saka is playing everywhere. I'm probably missing someone else out. So while you have to be able to fight, game time might be tough to come by, and it might have been best going on loan to the Premier League or back to Germany, where you're going to play week in, week out, getting that more confidence. To be fair to Nelson, if he thinks he can fight for game time here, fair play, but he struggled, you know. He hasn't had too much opportunities in cup competition. Played against Leicester. Injury cost him out against Sheffield United, but he's had to be patient, and, you know, we'll have to revisit the situation in January, and if you earn your spot, you earn your spot. But I don't want this to be a season wasted for Nelson, in that, you know, I want you to look back next year in August and you can say, yo, I'm a dramatically better player than I was last year. That's what you need to do. I think that could be said to a degree for Eddie. He's a better player than the one that before he went on loan at Leeds, and through the Leeds and playing for Arsenal, he's a better player. He's not currently of the standard, but he's a better player. Do you get it? And that's what Nelson and all these young boys need to do. He said the reality is that he's been really good in trading. He wants to stay here and he wants to fight for his place. And I mean, if you see Saka doing it, why not believe in yourself? It's what he's doing, and he's going to get chances in right moments. So again, your chance is going to come. Make sure you grab it with both hands, and make sure when Arteta thinks of this game, he can't forget you. You know, you've got to grab your chances. Difficult, you know. I would like to see people give him, like, especially someone like Pepe. I know he's not a young player, but as much as I get onto him when he comes into these big games and is a bit iffy, you know, he's not really been afforded a run. And I'm not saying you must use this to beat Willian with a stick, but someone like Willian's been afforded the match fitness and things, and I've not really seen anything to justify it. It's difficult when you're thrown in one game expected to make things happen. It don't work like that, but at the same time, you've got to take your chances. And yeah, man, he said he wants to fight for his place. It's what he's doing, and he's hoping to get chances in the right moments. I'm happy with how he's assimilated the situation with not playing a lot of minutes in the first few weeks. But as everyone can see, things are changing very quickly, and we're getting more and more injuries because of the schedule. And he will get opportunities, and then it will come down to him as to whether he takes it or not. And take it, you know, Willian probably be in the squad based on what Arteta said, but he's working his way back from injury. Pepe still going from inconsistencies. You know, I believe Aubameyang should go through the middle, but let's just say Aubameyang is dropped from the left wing just because he's not performing. And then there's Lacazette, who doesn't directly affect him, but someone else can be put there and their spots earned. Take your opportunity. I believe in Nelson. I think Nelson can have a role here, you know. But he's got to show it, you know. He doesn't need to be the finished product, but him, Emil, Joe, you know, Eddie, they've all got to seize their chances, you know. To be fair to Eddie, I'd say he's the best of the rest when you disregard Saka and the ones that have really advanced, because Eddie's gone from being this squad sort of striker to a rotation option striker. You know, the rest are still part of the squad. You know, Eddie's travelling when we're playing Man City. You know, Nelson, Joe, Smith Rowe, even Saliba, sadly, who we're going to get onto, they're all playing against Man United's under 23s. Now, I'm not criticising that. I'm just saying that tells you where you are in the squad. You know, they are at the bottom of the pecking order. You know, I think Arteta loves them, but, you know, if it was a must-win game, you know, I don't think any of them are playing in the starting lineup. Do you get it, people? And then he was further pressed on why he... sorry, people. He said on whether he was then asked on whether Reiss understands why he isn't starting, and it's always difficult. And I don't want my players to be able to understand in the sense of you respect the gaffer, but I want them to have a healthy, you know, healthy stick up their derriere really. In that they want to, not in a funny man thing, in that they feel personally offended that Arteta said you left me out, so they're doing everything to make sure they're involved. Yeah, he said, well, I've tried obviously to compare things that happened 8 or 9 months ago is difficult in a negative or positive way all the time, but always try to have a very open communication with the players and try to get their thoughts out of their mind and try to tell them when they play or don't play, the reasons behind that. And most of the time they haven't done anything wrong. There's just a lot of competition in these positions and we're favouring other players in that moment. That's it. And that's telling there. It's like they haven't done anything wrong, but you haven't necessarily done anything right. In that, I know you're of the level, but what have you done to convince me that I'm going to put, you know, because I have to justify these decisions on the match day. What are you doing to make me think, okay, I'm going to play you? You know, that's what he's got to do in training. The rare opportunities he gets, everything and everyone has to be talking about Reiss Nelson and Smith Rowe. Make it so that Arteta is sick of hearing your name, because he clearly thinks you're a talented lad, but he's thinking, okay, there's other people that give me more of a chance of winning. And there's nothing wrong with that. He's the manager. But as a player, you've got to go complicate things. You've got to go and tell Arteta in a healthy way, fuck all of that, part of my language, F all of that, you know, F Saka, F Willian, F Pepe, I'm Reiss Nelson and I'm here. You know, in the same way Saka said, I don't care about all these experienced dons, you know. I'm Bukayo Saka, I'm 16, 17, but if you're good enough, you're old enough, I'm going to bad this thing up, which he's done in Europa, which he's done in the Premier League, and, you know, we're not looking at him from an age thing. A lot of us fans, we'd want to take Saka out of the team, not because he's doing bad, this car, we're relying on him too much, like, we're playing too much shoulders, we've heard, you know, he's been carrying a couple of knocks and still playing, we want to save our young G, but he's the only one on this thing, so we can't really take him out of the team, really. And like he said, no, from what I get from that paragraph, Nelson hasn't done anything wrong, but he hasn't necessarily done anything right in the sense of, I'm not saying he's poor in training and that. You ain't done nothing to say, okay, cool, maybe I'm tweaking, starting Willian. Let me put in Nelson. In the same way Nelson played, you know, Nelson got to start against Chelsea. I'm sure he's played against Chelsea, United and Liverpool. Definitely scored against Liverpool. Chelsea or United had one of them games, I think it was Chelsea. He had more of a positive game. He was smiling. I think with Reiss Nelson, it's nothing to do with technical ability. Obviously, you want to see consistency. You want to see him have more of a say in the game. But I think it's mentally. I think he believes in himself, but I think he's truly got to believe his levels, you know. He's truly got to believe he's the best thing since sliced bread. Not in a complacency thing, but I just feel he's very humble, but he's like he's unsure of himself at times on the field. He looks like he can put himself really down in them things. He's got to forgive himself. He just got to keep going and whatnot. He seems like he thinks almost too much about things. But I love that lad, man. Really like Reiss Nelson. And he obviously finally was pressed on why he didn't go on loan. He said, yes, it was a mix of things. Reiss was also really convinced that he wanted to stay and fight here. When you see that willingness and that passion and that security in a player, you feel tempted to keep him, even though you know opportunities are going to be restricted and he's not going to have a lot of continuity in his play. And again, you know, you might think at least initially he's not going to play regular games, but Arteta's effing with that desire, and I like that from Nelson. You know, I want to see that on the field. People might say it's a silly decision, and granted, there's every reason to go out on loan. But if you truly believe in yourself, if he's sitting there saying, alright, cool, you know what, I'm going to bide my time, I'm going to keep my fitness up with the 23s, I'm going to train, it's going to be frustrating, going to have to be patient, my chance might not come, but yo, I think I can play here. And when I'm seeing what Saka is doing and the other young players in and around the team, Saka and Maitland, why can't I do that? Like, you know, I'd say, you know, everybody's forgotten about me. When you see Saka come true, everyone's forgotten about me. You know, I'm going to remind people that along with Saka, I'm one of the best players of recent years to come through this academy. And Smith Rowe should be thinking the same thing as well. Because again, you know, it's nice to hear that about Nelson. It might be a silly decision, it might be a brave decision. You look at his good friend Eddie Nketiah, people last January say, well, if you can't play at Leeds, how are you going to play at Arsenal? And he somehow got in the team. Whatever you've got to say about Eddie Nketiah and his ability, myself included, because you lot know me, I've been very critical. And while I like what he's doing, I don't think he's taking his chances enough, you know. I don't think he's doing enough, sort of thing. So big up Nelson for that. Obviously, it's nice to hear of Aubameyang. I've really got sympathy for Arteta with the attacking options, as I have stated. Rather sad news as well, people. You know, he spoke about David Luiz. Apparently, David Luiz has a knock, and he might not even be able to play against Man United, you know. And whether he'd play against Dundalk, he said there's no chance he'll play against Dundalk. There's a big doubt for him to play at the weekend too. David rarely gets injured. We don't think it's a big thing, but it is going to keep him out for a few weeks. He was then pressed on Bukayo Saka, apparently, who picked up a knock, but he's been training fine. Hopefully he gets the game against Dundalk off, because we need him against Man United, in my opinion. I'd go free at the back, and, you know, I'd actually play Saka in the attacking sense, but Maitland at fullback. He was then asked on Willian, who's been carrying a knock. He said, Willian has been training with us for 2 days, and tomorrow he might be involved in the game at some stage. So again, you know, he's not fit enough to start. We've also got a bit of a centre-half crisis as well. You know, probably, only 2 fit centre-halves on our books. And he spoke about Saliba, people. Now, I think Saliba's time is coming. You know, when January comes, it might be a different case, but... You know, I know he can't play in the Europa, but, you know, we're dropping like flies. I think his chance is going to come, you know, and I think he's going to take it. And I believe in him. But in relation to Saliba, Arteta said he's revealed he's in a much better place, really, and he's able, and he's coping more with the demands, basically. He said he's in a much better place, he's feeling a lot more confident around the place, his language is improving, and he's starting to understand much better what we're doing physically. He's played a few games with the under-23s, which he needed, because he didn't play any football in the last 7 or 8 months. Things are progressively getting better and better. I feel really bad for Saliba because we had so many defenders. We decided to leave him out of the Europa League squad, which was really hurtful for me to do. And I mean, Mikel Arteta is very much like Pep when he says it. You know, I remember when Pep used to say this about Foden. It kills me to leave him out, this and that. I hear all of that, Arteta. But if you wanted him in there, you would. And I'm not criticising it. There's clearly been something that's tempted you to say, you know what, he's going to have a marginalised role this season, potentially go out on loan. If that push comes to shove, I'd rather use Mustafi. There's got to be something. It might not be you don't believe in his ability, but you might not believe he's at the level you thought he was. Because if you listen to the language when he was on loan and how he talks to him and how he's excited to work with him, you see Arsenal played up to it. We're doing behind the scenes. Every time he's coming back from his loan spot at St Etienne for medical work, we're doing up videos, the private jet. You don't go through that to that without something dramatically happening. Has it been, sadly, family issues which have played a part? Has he? I think it's a thing where he just doesn't feel he's currently at the level. I'm not too sure. Now, big up Fofana and Saliba. You know, there were some games watching them, I'm like, Fofana's the one we should have got, not Saliba. Sometimes I'm thinking, yo, Saliba's better than him. What I don't care about is who is better. I just think they're both two great centre-halves. And, you know, Fofana at Leicester, he's going to have tough games. He's going to do some stuff. He's going to concede a penalty. He's going to get too tight. This is going to happen. You think Brendan Rodgers don't know that? He had a terrific performance against Aubameyang. And he's done well in France. And I think when you look at it, you know, Fofana, Saliba, Koundé at Seville, Upamecano, there's bare guys that could push for the Euro spot, maybe even a World Cup the year after that, depending on if they're playing. But, you know, so I think Saliba can play. I would rather Saliba make these mistakes than Mustafi, because Saliba's going to learn from it. Of course, you might kill a man's confidence, and I understand the handbrake of not playing a man. But, you know, and I don't think it'll be like this. But you look at Mavropanos and you look at Rob Holding, you know, there were times Rob Holding was thrown in and I could see why they've been reluctant to use him. More so Mavropanos. I remember Watford away, people. It was very tough for him. And I also remember at Palace, you know, there's no substitute for minutes. You need to be able to play football. You need to, you know, but I can understand in training if you're not doing something why you might not play. But if you don't play, you're not going to improve, people. Low battery, so apologies if it dies. But yeah, man, you know, he said he didn't want to use him. He said he feels really bad. He said I was hoping that Marie would be back in 2 weeks, but he had a setback. He went on to explain that further forward, and he said there are different cases. Mustafi was carrying that injury from last season. Chambers is in the exact same situation. Marie had surgery on his ankle. And apparently in relation to Rob Holding, it's the same case. But if anything, with him, it's the amount of minutes he's already played. When in the last 9 or 12 months, he hadn't played. But he had to step in because we didn't have many solutions here. So it's a combination of factors, people. So, you know, I think Saliba's chance will come. Just not in the Europa League, people, because he can't play in that. You know, I don't think he'll play away to United at Old Trafford. I think that's naive. I think it'll probably be Mustafi, Gabriel. I'd probably put Tierney at centre-half goal with a back three, personally, people, against Man United. But it's interesting to see what Arteta had to say about Reiss Nelson, about Saliba, obviously about Aubameyang, and touching on other things. But before this battery dies, people. We finished in record time. People, Deluded. Please like the video. Please comment. Please subscribe. I'm out, people. And like I said, we did this in record time. I can see my battery beeping. So on that note, I'm out. God bless.